Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Jersey Bird Homestead. My name is Danielle, and today we are going to make some ugly chicken. I know what you may be thinking. What is ugly chicken? Well, here at Jersey Bird, we raise and process all of our meat chickens. Last year specifically, we did 2 big processing days, and basically what we do is fill our freezers with all the chicken that we're going to use for the whole year. Alright, so before I do anything, I am going to make myself a latte. This is going to be a lot of work, so I just need a little pick-me-up. Let me know if you want to see a video on this espresso machine. I love it. So basically what you have been seeing me doing is all the prep work. I am cleaning jars right now, and the processing time is going to be 90 minutes for raw pack chicken. So I am giving them a good wash with soapy water, and then I'm going to let them dry on a clean towel for a little while. So basically what we do is we process them as whole birds. I will typically take out 1 chicken a week. We will usually on the first day roast or rotisserie that chicken. The second day we'll do something like chicken fajitas. And then the third day maybe like some chicken soup, chicken pot pie, something along those lines. So with the 3 chickens that I got out for ugly chicken, these are the bigger birds. So I'm trying to free up some freezer space here because I typically go for the smaller chickens for our weekly meals. Just because we're a family of 4, our 2 kids are really little. We have a 2 and a 3-year-old, and an 8-pound chicken is kind of just a lot. It tends to stick around for longer than the 5 to 6-pound birds. It is part of the reason why we're trying to kind of get away from the Cornish cross and trying to raise some heritage breeds, is because I prefer a little bit of a smaller chicken, I'm finding out. Now, with that said, we do have Cornish cross ordered for this summer. So I'm hoping that it's the last year, though. I'm hoping that we can get our breeding program organized and maybe the following year start with our first generation of Jersey Bird specials, we'll call them. And they'll be our truly dual purpose, kind of like the Delawares, but hopefully we can get a little bit more eggs out of them than the Delawares. So we'll see. So let's get back to the original question. So what is ugly chicken? Well, ugly chicken is pressure canned chicken. I do the same thing with pork. I just did some with some unbrined pork hams that, they were just kind of like taking up space in the freezer. And I took a day and deboned them. I got all the fat I could off, but it is a little bit more challenging with pork. And then around here, we do follow the USDA guidelines for pressure canned meat. So I followed the instructions in my It's So Easy to Can book, and also the instruction manual that came with my canner, an all-American canner. And basically, it can't get easier than this canned meat. I basically cube the meat up. I'll put some salt in the bottom of the jar. you'll see this whole process. I know I'm explaining it really bad right now, but cube up the meat, put it in your clean, impeccably clean jars, and then put your flat on, your ring, toss it in the canner for 90 minutes, which is a long processing time, but understandable. It is. It goes in as raw meat. And then what you get out is canned, shelf stable, goes right on a shelf. And the best thing about it is it's a quick, easy, safe, as long as it's, like I said, you follow the directions in the book. And you can make all kinds of stuff out of canned meat. The reason why it's called ugly chicken is because it does not look pretty. It's ugly. That is the truth. And so is ugly pork. So ugly pork is great because it is so good. Canned in all of its juices, you can make a really quick, we do pulled pork. Literally empty the jar of pork into a saucepan. I usually drain off the juice and then add some good barbecue sauce, heat it up, and you are done. That is it. Pulled pork in literally 5 minutes. Now, that doesn't include the 90 minutes that it took to pressure can it and all the time to debone it, but I'm pretty sure you understand what I'm saying. So as you can see, I am breaking these chickens down into separate parts. This is a lot of work. It took me a long time to do the 3 chickens, and I had help from my husband. So I think for future ugly chicken, I think I'll do maybe like a good deal that I find at like a supermarket on chicken breast, because that is going to streamline this process tenfold. Just having to chop up the already separated chicken breast and then raw pack that would be way faster. Isn't it funny how sometimes we set expectations for ourselves, not really thinking about the work that goes into it? You know, I had just done ugly pork I think like a week and a half before I attempted this. And deboning the hams were quite a bit of work. That took me a while to do. So I really thought that this was going to be a breeze. I mean, it's chicken, for goodness sakes, you know. We do, like I said, all the processing ourselves. I really don't know why I thought it was going to be easier than the pork, since there's all these little tiny muscles to cut around, and also after a while it got really slimy. But at the same time, I'm really happy that I did this because, like I said earlier in the video, we always process them as whole birds and then we leave it there and then we cook them as a whole bird. So even though I've been very involved with and am comfortable with processing chickens, I have never broken down a full chicken. Isn't that crazy? So this was actually a really good learning experience for me. And you may be able to tell a little bit that as the video goes on, I get a little bit better each time. All right, so that was a lot of work. So basically what I am going to do now is put a teaspoon of salt into each jar. I usually, right after I put the funnel on the jar, I put the teaspoon of salt in there, and then you put your meat chunks into the jar, pack them tightly, and you're gonna do 1.25 inch headspace. Okay, that is very, very important. And then when I go to the next jar, then I'll put my salt in the jar and the meat. I don't put the salt in all of the jars at the same time because sometimes you end up not filling all of the jars and then you kind of have to wash those jars again before you put them away. So that's just how I do it to avoid having to do more cleaning. All right, so what you can't see going on in the background is that I have already put the gasket on my canner, which for an all-American canner would be oil around the rim. That is the gasket. Some canners come with like a rubber or silicone gasket, some don't. They're all a little different, so it's really important to read all those directions and figure out what you need to do for your canner. Same thing goes for the water. So mine, it's a couple inches of water in the bottom, but yours may be different. Just make sure you are reading and following those directions for the pressure canners because it's really important. So I've got my canner with the gasket and the water warming up on the stove now that I'm at the chopping process, because the chopping process goes pretty quickly. I'm basically just packing the jars and then it'll almost be time to place them in the canner. All right, so now it is time to start prepping to put the flats on. So anytime you're dealing with meat, you want to wipe the rims with vinegar, and that is to dissolve any of the fat that might have gotten around the rim. Fat would prevent a good seal, so you want to make sure you do that. The jar I just showed you did not have an 1.25 inch headspace, okay? That is not going to be shelf stable. I just did not have enough chicken to fill one more jar, and I wanted to cook it, so that's why I'm putting it in the canner with the other jars who do have the correct headspace. But that one I will use immediately. I used it the next day to make chicken noodle soup, and I kept it in the refrigerator after it cooled down from the canner because you need to pay attention to headspace. It's very important. All right, so now I'm putting on the bands, finger tight. And next step is just going directly into the canner. So I ended up with 5, I think. I'll correct it if I'm wrong. But that's not bad. I do usually try to fill up a canner if I'm running it, especially for 90 minutes. But I didn't know how much meat I was going to end up with, considering the bones in the chicken and everything. So in the end, it was a pretty good guesstimate. All right. So before I put the lid on, I am going to do final checks on the lid of my canner. So I'm going to look through that pressure release valve there, and I'll make sure the other rubber pressure release gauge is there and good. All right. And then once we get that lid on the canner, we are going to let 10 minutes of steady steam go by. Once that stream of steam is strong and goes, we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. I did want to include a shot of the recipe that I'm using. This is from It's So Easy to Preserve, and this is mid-canning. You can see that the pressure gauge is at 10 pounds, so that is where it's supposed to be, and the jiggle weight is jiggling. And then I cut to 90 minutes later, which was the processing time, and it's time to shut the gas off because it's done. Now, at this point, you don't touch that weighted gauge until the pressure goes down to 0. Let it come down naturally. That is very important. Okay, so the canning is done, and I did make chicken noodle soup with that one that the headspace wasn't right. I made the chicken noodle soup the next day, and it was really good. It was actually really, really good. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to try chicken salad. I'm so excited to try chicken tacos, chicken fajitas. It's just so nice to have homegrown, ready-made, humanely raised chicken at the available, already cooked, ready to go. So basically, what I am going to do next is make chicken broth out of all of the carcasses. So nothing goes to waste. I have a bag of onion ends and carrot ends that lives in the freezer. So I take that out because I'm going to season my chicken stock with it. And I'm going to put that in the canner, or the pressure cooker, first, followed by the chicken carcass, followed by some salt, followed by a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. I fill the pot up to the appropriate height for pressure cooking, and then I run that on, it's the Homesteading Family recipe. I believe it's low for 2 hours. So this was the first run. I was able to fit one of the carcasses plus some extra parts. So that is the one that I made this soup with. And then today, which is the next day, I did another batch with another carcass. I did leave the vegetable scraps out of this one because I'm going to can the broth. At the end, you see a short video of what I ended up with, which was a little bit over 4 quarts or 2 half gallons. And then I'm going to do another batch tomorrow. So I'm probably going to end up with, let's see, a little bit over 8 quarts, which is great. So that is it for today's video. I just want to thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.